Most agents think they need more leads, and that's a downright lie. People don't buy from who's the best or anything like that. They buy from who they trust. There is a repeatable process top closers use, and this is basically what it looks like. There are 7 habits that top agents use to make leads trust them fast, and here's the list. The words you use matter. Most agents talk themselves out of a sale, not into one. Objections aren't rejections. They're just doors that you need to knock on. The call isn't about sounding smart, it's about guiding the prospect through to clarity. But as I said, knowing this stuff just isn't enough, right? You have to practice it. If you're a realtor who's generating leads but just can't seem to turn them into clients, you're not broken. You're just doing what most agents do, which really doesn't work. So this video is basically going to fix that by showing you the 5-part framework that top closers actually use to convert leads without needing to follow up forever. So let's quickly get into it. I'll quickly show you here. Move over to the OBS here. There we are. Lovely Mario board for you again. I don't know how I produce these for you lovely boys and girls. But before we actually get into it, my name is Dylan Kirk. I'm the CEO and founder of Estato. And we basically pride ourselves on making sure we build quality YouTube ad systems for realtors. So these are systems that we don't control, we build for them and give them out, and with a hyper focus on quality instead of quantity. Because we realized people can give you 100 leads, but if you're not converting any of them, there's no point having those 100 leads. That's just a number on a digital screen, right? It's not actually anything. So we're going to get into turning conversations into clients. But just off the bat, most agents think they need more leads, and that's a downright lie. The default reaction to having slow sales is to spend more on leads, but what if the problem actually isn't lead quality and it's actually what you do after the leads come in? Most agents jump into scripts, like pitch benefits or email endlessly, but the reality is, if you can't close 10 leads, well, 100 more doesn't solve that problem. It just magnifies it. You don't have a lead problem, you have a conversation problem, you have a conversion problem. So you're either talking too much or not asking enough questions. You sound like every other agent out there. You're pitching before you actually understand, or you're not qualified before showing value. And this is where most realtors don't have that lead problem, but they have that conversion problem there. So again, if you have 100 leads, and you can't close, if you can't close 10, multiplying it to 100 doesn't do anything for you apart from make you more miserable. And here we have what top agents do. So people don't buy from who's the best or anything like that. They buy from who they trust. Trust is such an important thing. And this is how you actually get that and capitalize on it. So you show empathy over ego. So you're actually listening instead of talking. If you're doing less talking than the person that you're talking to, then you have won. That is a good sales record, because if you're talking more than the actual prospect is, that's a problem. That's a big problem. You're not letting them speak enough. You have certainty over neediness. So you have a confident posture and you're not coming across as desperate or having commission breath, as one of my clients recently said to me. And you're focusing more on diagnosis over actually selling. So this is where you actually come from a coach point of view. You're coming across from an actual helpful point of view where you're actually like a doctor and not like a vendor. So in the similar vein to doctors, where they don't just prescribe you random medicine because they assume you have a problem that is in this category and just try and sell you on it. They actually need to figure out what's the best course of action for you before moving forward. This can trigger sales resistance if you're not done properly, but we'll get into that. So there is a mindset shift that every top performer makes, right? So they stop trying to be liked and they start leading with confidence and actually control. So conversion is psychological. It is mainly a psychological thing. And this is where you've got the old school salesy agent to the trust advisor, the cool dude there. That's what you need to focus on. Because if you're nervous, if you're needy, or you're uncertain, the lead feels it. But if you're calm, curious, and you're actually composed, people will trust you. So that's what we say about being the advisor and not being a vendor, right? Not the seller. So your job is to diagnose before you prescribe, and that starts with posture. So here we have the 5C blueprint. So there is a repeatable process top closers use, and this is basically what it looks like. This is what they all use, right? So this isn't random, and this is the set structure they actually use. So this is what it looks like. I call it the 5C framework for a reason. You have context, control, clarity, challenge, and close. So let's get into them. So starting with context is understand where the lead's coming from and tailor messaging accordingly. So it's basically just knowing how they found you, how you found them, what their problem is, and then what their common beliefs are and that sort of stuff there. And just figuring out, okay, they have this certain mindset, so I'm gonna ask this lot of questions. You can't script every single conversation because that's just not feasible. It's not possible. You can't script and prepare for every conversation because you're going to get so many people. People are so different that you're not going to be able to script it. It doesn't really work. You can have a framework, but you can't have a script. Two different things. So you have control. So you set the frame. So for example here, like I'll ask a few questions to make sure we're a fit, la la la. Be careful when you're setting the frame here and you have that control, because you want to do it with ease. You don't want to say, oh, John, welcome to the call, welcome to this. So we're going to go through, I'm going to ask you pain related questions, I'm going to ask you goal related questions, and then try and drive a wedge between the two. Cool. You don't do it like that. So you basically want to set the tone early, because you're driving the bus here, you're the person in control, right? Next one is clarity. So get crystal clear clarity on what they want and why. This is where you need to start asking the real questions. Why are they moving? What's the urgency? What's causing them to do that? It's very basic stuff, but a lot of people, when they do clarity, to avoid sales resistance and just to avoid getting like the prospect spooked in general, is that they'll actually avoid going deeper. So once they get a surface level answer, or if they get any response from these questions, they're like, cool, take that off of my head, move on. But a lot of the times they're going to be surface level until you dig. You need to dig. If you don't dig, the chances are first and foremost, you're not having a real conversation, because you're going back and forth with fake answers, basically. You need to go deeper. If they put up resistance to that, they're probably not a good fit for you, because they need to be transparent. It needs to be open. If they're not willing to be open with you, then that needs to be addressed. On the flip side though, if you're coming across really salesy and it's really obvious what you're doing, then that is on you, not the prospect. The prospect is there, fine, but you need to be the person that doesn't come across as salesy in that scenario, right? And that's where asking the real questions goes to, and actually going deeper as well. Next up is challenge. So calling out inconsistencies, gently reframe limiting beliefs, right? So if they have a certain mindset of like, oh, I've never really had a desire to work with real estate agents because they have commission breath, they're usually just trying to get me for my money and that sort of stuff there. You need to be ready to explain why those limiting beliefs are the reason why they're there in the first place, right? It's the most common thing in the world that your current personality, your current mindset are only getting you so far. So to get to that next level and to go basically to level up, you need to be willing to grow and expand like a butterfly. That's a great thing for it. So when they actually try and say something that doesn't make sense, this is your chance to capitalize on it and actually challenge it. So don't let these prospects run you over with bad beliefs, right? I have it in my stuff as well, where the amount of people that come in, a lot of realtors that come in and say, oh, pay after closing is the best thing in the world. Pay after closing is great because you only pay after you close and that sort of stuff there. Have to gently remind them that, well, pay after closing all well and good and all, but A, it's unpredictable. B, it's more of a debt, not really a pay after closing program. And C, it's really inconsistent and the lead quality is all over the place. And you're not building anything for yourself. So those are very common limiting beliefs there. So here are just great examples of what they actually look like. So these are the best practices to have. There are 7 habits that top agents use to make leads, trust them fast. And here's the list. So the details don't really matter. So it's the way you open a call, like the types of questions you ask, and the energy you bring all influence the outcome instead, right? So great agents, they ask more than they tell. They use pre-framing to control the convo. They avoid sounding like they actually need the deal. And, it's just more actually trying to help people. And they use tools like CMAs or, net sheets to show actual expertise, right? These things aren't flashy, but they work because they build trust and authority without pressure. So, as I say here, ask more if you can tell. Use layered questions, mirror and label. Lead with value, not features. Show how you solve their problem, not just a general fix, their problem individually. Position yourself as that authority, so don't pitch, diagnose. Create urgency through vision, not pressure. Paint the cost of inaction. What's going to happen if they don't move forward? Well, they're stuck where they are right now. Okay, well, how big of a problem is that if they're just where they are right now? Because if they don't have that urgency to move forward, urgency drives the sale. If they don't have that urgency, they're never going to move forward with you. If they think they're comfortable where they are, why would they splash how much money on not only a realtor, but also just to get their house ready for the sale? All that time and money invested and that stress involved to actually prepare for the sale, prepare to move. Like, how bad is their current situation that needs to be driven forward? And that's the real key, urgency. Use tools of proof, like as I say, CMAs, buy net sheets, loan estimates to get that ground trust. In the same way that in my company, I use testimonials. I have a website dedicated to that. Just making sure that you know exactly what we offer. We've been around for a while and we can help. This video is a great example. Pre-frame the call or appointment. So like how this call is going to go. Bit of a bad example there, how the call is going to go, but just a general thing of like, a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of people that I have conversations with, they're, X, Y, and Z, and we're just trying to figure out if you sort of fit into that. Cool. Like, very general there. I'm not going to get ultra specific because obviously it's down to you and what you want to do, but that's pretty much the gist of it there. So here are some common scripts and phrases that actually convert. So the words you use matter. Most agents talk themselves out of a sale, not into one. So there's a difference between sounding like an agent and sounding like an advisor. That you don't need a full script, you just need power phrases that open the door. Like use lines like, out of curiosity, what's got you thinking about moving? Sounds like there's something holding you back. What is it? I only work with people I know I can help, right? Mind if I ask a few questions just to see if that's the case here? Can I make a conversation that might help? Now, B2C is a lot easier than B2B. Okay, that might be like a general blanket statement, but the problem is when you're selling business tools as opposed to actual, consumer products, is that with consumers, it's a lot easier to sell to in that mind, right? Like to the common person. But when it comes to a business owner or a decision maker, the chances are they're in sales themselves. So when you are asking these questions, and this could even happen if you're selling to old real estate agents as well, or like people who have their licenses and stuff like that, you might get this where people are like, okay, I see what you're doing. Can we cut to the chase and that sort of stuff there? It's a lot more common in B2B because obviously, at least in my line of work with realtors, is that a lot of them, well, the good ones are in sales. They know sales tactics. So you have to be a little bit careful when you are doing it, not to trigger sales resistance. But that is that's another topic for another day. And if you are thinking, well, I'm not really focused that much on sales anyway, or like, how do I improve my sales? This video perfectly highlights this whole situation and what are your 4 main focuses as a real estate agent and what they always should be, unless you have a urgent matter that is going to break your business if not handled immediately, right? And here is a very, very basic but very effective way to handle objections. So objection handling without being pushy. So objections aren't rejections. They're just doors that you need to knock on. And that's kind of the way I see objections as well, where most agents panic when they actually hear an objection. But the truth is, objections are just clues. It's just figuring out what we need to do. So when someone says, I'm waiting for the market, they're telling you why they're stuck. Your job isn't to bulldoze in and, knock it down, right? It's to walk through it. So these are 3 fundamentals here. You've got to acknowledge the concern, you clarify what they mean, and then you reframe with the new insight. So this is how you basically turn resistance into progress without having to sound like a closer from like the 1980s, right? 1990s, the main thing there. So like, for example here, totally get that. So just so I understand, is it the price, the timing, or something else, right? I mean, a great example here is waiting for the market. Like, I'm just waiting for the market. Like, I totally get that. So just so I understand, is just like, it's a big timing issue for you right now, right? Or the pricing, or what is it? Like, this is a great example for it there. Because the market is a very, very common one, but you just have to remember the market's like a carousel. It comes back and it comes back around. Good markets and bad markets come around. It's just what we're doing right now to capitalize on that. So you can sit here and say the good market, bad market, but the chances are there could be a very, very bad market coming up where what is worth right now isn't going to be worth what it is, like, 6 months from now, 3 months from now, even a couple months from now, right? You know what's going on with the economy, the government, and stuff like that. So you never really know where it's going to sit. So possibly now is the best time. Something like that there. Very, very simple. But yeah, I have a couple call structure templates as well that close. So here's a really, really simple one. So the call isn't about sounding smart. It's about guiding the prospect through to clarity, right? A sales call should feel like a coaching session, not a sales call. So you're the guide. The client is the hero. And here's a simple structure. So the icebreaker. So break the ice. You frame the call, ask discovery questions, summarize needs, set appointment, present solution briefly, and basically follow around like that flywheel example I had a couple videos back. So I would have a friend who's an agent. We're waiting for the market to change. I'm just looking right now, that sort of stuff there. Very, very common objections. So feel free to go through, even pause this video right now and make your own objections using this framework. So acknowledge, clarify, reframe, acknowledge, clarify, reframe, acknowledge, clarify, reframe. This whole structure is very simple, but most agents skip steps and then wonder why leads are ghosting them, right? Why it's not working out. So now if you're sitting here thinking, Dylan, it's all great and all, but I don't have enough leads to warrant, practicing sales. I need to be getting more leads first. That's what I need to do first. And well, it's a good thing I'm here, right? Because I have an entire detailed YouTube channel dedicated to this very topic, right? Anywhere from how to set up a YouTube ads formula, 7 steps for winning at your ad script. Do these 5 things will change your landing page. Real estate YouTube ads will continue to suck until you change these things here. Your CPC sucks, how to fix it. With all of that, with all the channel videos that I've made, and you do follow it correctly, you follow every step correctly, your CTR should be really high, your cost per acquisition should be way down, and you should have a lot of these actually start generating and a lot of conversions, right? And if it doesn't look like this example here, it's a screenshot. If it doesn't look like that example there, you are wasting your money. But back to the video. But as I said, like, knowing this stuff just isn't enough, right? You have to practice it. If you want to convert more, you need to practice. You need to practice and you need to do it out loud. Like, grab a list of common objections. I've given you 3 here. Give it a go, right? Role play with a friend, role play with yourself, even film it. Like, it's uncomfortable first. Like, absolutely it's uncomfortable first. But the more you put yourself in these uncomfortable situations, the more growth is going to happen. That's how it works. But when the real call actually comes, you'll sound like you've been there before, because you have. I've actually had it in my own calls where I've come across as sounding scripted, or like a realtor has called me out on sounding scripted, because I've nailed my objections and my rebuttals to a T, where every sentence, every bit of grammar, every pause is timed. So it sounds across really scripted. So that could be something to look out for. Don't be too scripted, but getting a general idea and using it and just realizing why that rebuttal works and implementing it into your conversation. So let me know if this helps, right? Like, this is a very short marble for today, but yeah, let me know if it helps. So share it with another agent who's stuck or basically in follow-up purgatory. You don't need more leads. Just hands up, you don't need more leads. You need more conversions. And this video, share it around, do what you need to do. This framework will get you there faster. So hit the like button if you got value, and I'll see you in the next one. Yeah, if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can do that. DM me deals, and we'll get you an ad system that will basically set up like this. You can start implementing the 5 C's very, very shortly and get real consistent growth and scale really fast. You can do that as well on Instagram. But yeah, that's it. See ya.